Alright, everyone, welcome to r/ChoosingBeggars. There was a poll, I think on Thursday, that had some questions about, it was a poll on what you wanted to see, and people chose the other subreddits, Choosing Beggars and Incel Tears, and a couple of people actually specifically requested those in the comments, so we're going to go ahead and cover them. Next week will probably be Am I the Asshole in Relationships because in r/relationships because that was the next most popular one. I'm also thinking I might do a couple of bonus videos just on some stuff that I wanted to do. The I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream short story by Harlan Ellison is one of my favorites. We are actually in between his birthday, which was May 27th, and the day he died, which was June 28th, about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that, maybe a bit longer. But he was truly an amazing writer, and while the story and the monologue that I plan on doing, which is the opening monologue to I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, the video game, which expanded on the short story, are both very sensitive in nature. And so I'll probably have some content warnings before that, at the beginning of each of those videos. But for now, let's go ahead and jump right into r/choosing beggars, shall we? I had a consultation with a local company to paint their logo on their wall. I asked what their budget was. They looked at each other and said, "I thought you did it for the art." "I wasn't told we'd have to pay." Bruh, you think anyone sits around painting corporate logos for fun? Check out this sweet IBM logo I just sketched. Yeah, something that I learned fairly quickly. I knit, crochet, embroider, draw. Like, I have a lot of hobbies. And I had a coworker who I was trying to be friendlier with. Like, it was at a time when I was really trying hard to be a friend person, and I'm just not. I've tried many times over the years to be a person that likes having friends, and I just don't. I'm not a friend person. I can be friendly with others just fine, but on the weekends and in evenings and stuff, I want that to be as much of my own time as I can. And so I end up looking at friendships as more of a chore than a joy, and that's not really fair to do to other people. So I've just kind of opted to not have friends, and it makes my life a little bit simpler. But when I was trying, I offered this girl really liked a scarf that I knitted, and she was like, "Could you make me one like that?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." She offered to pay me, but I said no, because I was trying to be friendlier, and I didn't. At the time I didn't mind. Something I learned very quickly though. I said she had to buy the yarn, and she bought the yarn and gave it to me, and I knitted it up for her and stuff. But uh, I found it actually quite annoying after getting about a quarter of the way through because it wasn't my creative vision. It's not what I wanted to do creatively, and it really turns it into a chore. So no, just because someone likes art doesn't mean they want to realize your artistic vision. That is why you pay them. Because if they're going to do it for the art, they'll make their own damn art. They're not going to make your art. And another question I have is, I wasn't told we'd have to pay. Were you going to supply materials even? Like, you realize that you're the one benefiting from the art. Did you really expect the artist to shoulder the cost and just give you their skills for free? Like, it's just... So at least it was like a local company, not a corporate company, or like a multinational company, you know what I mean? But even so, this is the problem when people value products over skill, is that there's this overemphasis of it's just something, pretty to look at, and they don't consider the skill that goes behind it. To them, they're not getting much product, therefore they shouldn't have to pay much. But with things like this, and by and large, it's actually the way transactions should work, but we've gotten to much more product-oriented focus on exchanges of money. But you're paying for somebody's expertise. It's the same way that you would pay a plumber to fix your toilet, you pay an electrician to fix whatever power issues you're having in your house. You're paying an artist to realize a vision that you have for something in your space, or for a product you have, or what have you. You are paying for their skill. All right? Because it's not fun for them. It's work at that point. If they're realizing your vision, it's work. It's not for the art. And I'm sorry, but if it's for the art and all they want to do is make logos, then, I mean, if that's your jam, that's your jam. But I don't know of anyone that's their artistic vision. I'm looking to help maintain 2.5 acres of field and landscaping on a weekly basis. Must have own equipment, insurance, and knowledge of plants and irrigation. Work includes mowing, weeding, trimming, digging, planting, and some heavy lifting. Price negotiable. They're paying $25. I'm guessing $25 per week, which for this much landscaping that would have to be done is fucking ridiculous. And this is something that I think that people don't consider when they look at buying their like dream home. Let's say we're going to pretend that they are your middle class and they had to save up for this, but they're, really, they worked hard and, they want this. People don't consider the long-term ramifications of decisions that they made. Yes, you may love the aesthetic, but you have to consider the ongoing responsibilities for the things that you take on. Just because you bought it doesn't mean it stays that way forever, because time is a harsh mistress, and she will continue marching forward and destroying your shit for as long as she can, because it's time. She doesn't give a fuck. So it's just this... It's definitely entitlement, but I don't think people realize that there's a distance between the decisions that they made and then the repercussions of the choices that they've made. And so I think that people don't always connect the two. I'm going to have a lot of personal stories in this one. But so I moved in with a family member to help take care of them. And I'm with another family member who is helping me take care of them. And we all live in the same house. And when we moved in, the family members who need help, who own the house, their yard was absolutely trashed. Now, I had never done any landscaping work or any yard work or anything like that, so I was kind of excited for an opportunity to learn how to take care of some of this stuff. I knew I would be slow, but it would be skills that I would be gaining, and I would learn things as I go, and I was okay with that. Well, my able-bodied family member, who we're going to just call them G. G didn't like that I was slow moving in the process, and we had a neighbor who likes to landscape as a hobby and offered to do it well without consulting me, and I had kind of made it clear that I was excited about this project, and it was actually going to be part of like a YouTube video series where it's like, this is what it looks like starting out, because the yard was just completely overgrown. It was a big project. And I'm learning, and I was kind of hoping to post this stuff on YouTube, and maybe people could give me some advice, and it was going to be this whole thing. She just invited the neighbor. He was, of course, much faster and much more skilled than I am, because he'd been doing it for a while and completely cleared the yard of overgrowth far sooner than I ever could have. But I was upset because I wasn't asked when I had clearly been like, this was going to be my project. And there was a whole fight about it. And I kind of threw up my hands and said, fine, whatever, but then I'm not doing the yard work. I was willing to kind of completely take over yard care if I could do things my way, as far as chore distribution goes. Because no one in my family wanted to do yard work. And so the neighbor ended up, because he likes landscaping stuff and our yard was a big project, spent 2 years kind of doing whatever he wanted to the yard, and my family wasn't always thrilled with his choices, but at least at some point they realized that he was doing this, and we paid him, but probably not an hourly wage of any kind, but anything that he put into the yard to improve it, regardless of whether we liked the way it looked or not, we reimbursed him for, because we recognized that you made the yard look better. But, lately he's been like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's just kind of maintenance at this point. And so G is like, fine, that's fine. I'll take care of it. But now she's like complaining left and right that this is now added onto her plate. And there's been a couple of times when I've been like, this could have been avoided. And it would have been my responsibility had you let me take over the project as I wanted to do it. But you didn't. You weren't happy that I wasn't moving fast enough. And this is the result of the choices that you've made. And it kind of goes back to this. You made the choice to buy a house with this huge amount of yard space and upkeep that's needed. You can't then lowball people and expect help because you don't like the consequences of your actions. Like, I mean, it's a gorgeous property. But it's a lot of work. You can tell just by looking at it. And so to think that $25 is enough. So it's one of those things where, and I think this is just a common thing with a lot of choosing beggars that ask for services, is that they don't understand that it's not, you're not a victim when no one wants to help you. You're in the space you are because of choices that you've made. By any chance, do you have $10 I can borrow until next Wednesday, and I'll pay you back $15? Yeah, sure, I can send Interact. What's your email? Just pay back $10. Can you send blank mail? He needs it for gas for work, he said. Or can you do $20 so he makes sure he has enough until I get money next week? It's this email. Thank you. Can you let me know when you send it so I can message him and let him know? Okay, I sent $20. It says he has auto deposit, so it should go through soon. Okay, thank you. He wanted me to ask you for $30 because his car is a gas guzzler, but I didn't know if you could send that much. So, honestly, I might have sent the $20, but like this consistently going up in how much you're asking for would like send off alarm bells in my head. Fuck no. Like, it's interesting that it starts to become like you're testing to see how much you can get me to give you, aren't you? You're testing me to see how much you can get out of me, and you have no real intention of paying it back. Isn't that right? Like, it's so blatantly clear, and I'm curious where people get the audacity, the guts, and the balls to do shit like this. Like, you come off as needing help, especially with the first one, and it's $10, and you're offering to pay back what's essentially like interest, and it's like, no, dude, it's fine. Just, it's $10. Here you go. And then you ask for $20, and it's like, well, it's okay. It's to make sure you get enough, and you'll send me back $20. But then it's $30. What's the phrasing? Twice is a coincidence, but 3 times is a habit. And you can just, like, in general, I tend to have a 3 strikes rule when people are not just asking me for this stuff, but when people do stuff that I find upsetting. And I let it go the first time. Second time, I start to be like, by the third time, it's like, okay, we need to have a talk because I don't like this, and it's clear this is like a habit that's forming. Sometimes, though, it is just stuff that just pisses me off, and I'll let it go, and then by the third time, I'm like, would you fucking stop? It's so clear that you're trying to see how much you can, like, you started with 10 because it's like no one, most people, maybe not so much, I mean, everyone's hurting right now with inflation and the rising cost of fucking everything, but most people want to help you out for $10. Most people can do it. You up it to 20, which is, to me, like the highest ask of they probably won't miss it too much, and then once you go over that, it just becomes suspect to me. It's a gas guzzler, which means it's, unless he needs it, like it's something, because gas guzzlers tend to be the bigger vehicles, and so unless he needs it for his work, for like specific like hauling stuff, why does he have a gas guzzler? Why does he have a gas guzzler? Is anyone able to make this? I'd like all black satin robe with feathered trim, looking to spend around $50 and needed by July 15th, shipped to Ayer, Massachusetts. Thanks. This just, I'm really curious how old this person is, because they clearly have no concept of anything. One, clearly you're just asking to ship, so this is online community. This type of dress would require fittings, and you're asking for black satin and a feathered trim. The materials alone would be at least double what you're saying you're looking to spend. You're asking for what's essentially a custom gown, made to fit you, made in the materials that you wanted, by July 15th. It's not a super complicated silhouette, but it's still going to take some time. And I wish I could see the date specifically when this is posted. Oh, and it's needed by July 15th, so it would need to be shipped before then. So if you're taking a look at July 15th, and let's say it'll take a week and a half. Well, we'll say 2 weeks just to be safe, because if you need it by July 15th, we'll say that it needs to be shipped out by July 1st. It is now, at the time of this recording, June 5th, meaning that you expect someone to have this very drapey, which is harder to sew to get the drapes right, and within a month. If the person is particularly skilled, they may be able to do it, but then you're going to have to pay for that skill. $50 isn't even going to cover the materials. And the thing is that it's very much choosing beggar, and there is very much a sense of entitlement here, but I feel like a lot of choosing beggars have this really unfortunate ignorance as to how much things cost, how much time it takes to make things like this. Like, I think that there's I almost kind of think that at this point it should be included in some sort of school curriculum of things take time, and this is a general way of how much things cost. Because I feel like that's a big issue with a lot of people, especially younger people, is that there's a disconnect in their understanding of how much things cost, because they're used to things like H&M and fast fashion and places that will also have like regular sales to discount their clothes and stuff. And so I think there's this, there's this disconnect and this misunderstanding of how much things actually cost, especially now. Hey man, I have an idea for a game, but I can't do it alone. Hello, thank you for contacting me. How can I help? I'm trying to make a game, Rome versus Egypt versus Greek versus Norse. You have to pick a faction, and it will have some story, but mainly online, kind of like Lionheart is, or just kind of like Lionhearts, but ancient times, where players pick who to join and join in massive player versus player siege, and each kingdom will have their own environment: Norse snow, Greek plains, Egypt desert, Rome jungle. Why would Rome be in the jungle? And me, you, and 2 others will lead one of those kingdoms. Like, I get Greek and you get Norse. My players and siege weapons will attack your kingdom while you and your players defend. There will also be forts and villages around each territory, and you can make a clan so other factions can hire you, and that's pretty much it for now. And there will be 4 emperors. Wow, that seems to be an ambitious project. Before we continue, what is your budget? $10. $10. Again, this I think lends to people not understanding This is actually twofold. I think he doesn't understand that he may be passionate about this, but everyone else, it's a paycheck. It is not their creative vision. It is his creative vision. Therefore, he may be willing to do it for free because he thinks it's fascinating, he thinks it's spectacular, and he's very excited about it. But I think people often, because I think the vast majority of people are pretty egocentric, and not that that's wrong. I think that's just kind of part of being human. I'm fairly egocentric myself. I have this channel where I primarily talk, and no one else really gets a chance to talk. And I am deeply grateful for people that watch me, and I do my best to interact with the comments because I appreciate people that are interacting with my content. But largely, YouTube channels, just even in general, are rather egocentric because it's a largely one-sided conversation. You can communicate in the comments, and you can reference what other people have said, and that's great. But ultimately, I am the arbiter and editor and determiner of what information and what viewpoints get highlighted. I can delete comments. In general, I don't tend to delete comments unless someone's being like particularly abusive. I have a disproportionate amount of power on this YouTube channel, and because it is entirely based on my personal perspective, the YouTube channel is inherently egocentric, and it's largely self-centered. And I don't think that this person understands his vision is really only important to him. He may think it's the next big thing in gaming. He may think it's a brilliant idea. And other people might think it's a cool idea, but it's not their creative vision. They don't have the investment that he does in his own video game. And I think, and so, like, he's like $10 because he doesn't have much. Or perhaps it's that he doesn't want to part with his money. I'm not sure which it is. In the case that it's that he doesn't have much, unfortunately, this is what it's like to be a poor creative. You either have the free time to work on what you love, but no money for the supplies, or you have money for the supplies, but extremely limited time to work on the things you want to work on. And so it's kind of a balancing act. But he's asking someone with an expertise to help him for essentially nothing. And I don't think that he realizes, because he's so focused on what his big, amazing creative vision is, that other people need compensation because they don't have the love for it. And so I think that's, there's a couple of different types of choosing beggars. And I think the ones that ask for services for free are largely ignorant and unaware. They lack the awareness that just because it's important to them doesn't mean it's important to anybody else. They sold us a nice bed, but 2 years later, when we were moving, they refused to help us move the bed even after we offered to pay for it. So in our opinion, all they do is sell beds. Don't expect anything else after that. And this was done on a mattress store Yelp page. And this is different from the other Choosing Beggar posts that we've seen so far. This one actually baffles me a little bit because the company sold you the bed. They sold you the product, and clearly you were happy with it, and clearly you were satisfied with the process. Once that bed is in your possession, the transaction and the contractual relationship ends. So I don't really understand why this person thought that this mattress company would help them move a bed. Like, there's so many things that go wrong with having the company like I don't really understand. If you have to move anyway, and you have to, like, maybe you're getting a pod, or maybe you're getting a moving van or whatever, it would be so much easier just to load the mattress into that van, get a bigger van, load the mattress in. I'm very confused as to why you would call up a company that you used 2 years previously to move your mattress, or to move your bed, whatever. It still would, to me, would be less effort to load the bed into a moving van or into a pod, or whatever form of transportation you're using. Unless maybe they don't have the money to rent a moving van, but then how the hell are they getting all their other furniture to the next place? Like, all they do is sell beds. It's a furniture store or a mattress store or whatever. yes, all they do is sell beds. The delivery of your bed is a service that they provide. That doesn't mean that they will always move. Like, they're not tied to your bed for the lifetime of the mattress or the lifetime of the bedding or the bed set or whatever you're using. So I'm very confused where that expectation came from. It's truly baffling to me. All right, so in full disclosure, I found this on the anti-work subreddit, but I think that it's still pretty choosing beggary. Due to lazy workers quitting with no notice and crazy inflation, thanks Biden, we have increased all our prices by 50% beginning June 4th. Apply now to help us fill the workplace and lower our prices again. Interesting. How does adding more workers lower your prices? I'm curious. Great benefits including supportive work environment, gift card raffles, free snacks, good salary, paid sick time with doctor's note, and pay increase of up to 50 cents per year guaranteed. But the thing is that little up to means that there's no minimum that you get each year, meaning that it's up to 50 cents, but you could get 0 increase per year. And this is so misleading, and this is part of what pisses me off about this. Starting pay $16 an hour, but it's really $13 an hour with benefits, which they value at $16 an hour. And then, of course, don't take this paper. But it's like, what kind of job is this? My guess is that it's customer service. And while $16 an hour isn't terrible, if it were actually $16 an hour, it's not. It's $13 an hour. It's $13 an hour. My guess is that they say... Actually, no, these benefits, it doesn't say anything about health insurance. It just says paid sick time. So it's not really benefits, meaning that it's probably a part-time position, meaning that you really can't make a living, especially not on $13 an hour. And, it's a diner. So you're having to deal with plenty of asshole customers hoping that you make some tips. Biden was not responsible for the crazy inflation. And I don't understand how you have to increase your prices by 50%, but somehow getting more underpaid employees would lower your costs, lower your prices. It's a lot to ask of one person when you're not even giving them paid vacation, you're not giving them health care, like the two basics that you would need in order for it to truly be great benefits. And even then, it's really not that great, but, at least you have the basic benefits. As far as I'm concerned, if workers are quitting with no notice, that doesn't happen when they respect the people that they're working for. So you say that it's a supportive work environment. People with supportive work environments don't just quit with no notice repeatedly. Like, to me, that says there's something wrong with your management. So... just wanted to show that to kind of cap it off. Let me know what you thought of my review of this r/ChoosingBeggars subreddit. I'm thinking after summer I might go back to like 2 or 3 times a week over the next school year and covering different subreddits, so that way I'm not covering just Fat Logic stuff. I enjoy it, but having a little bit of variety to kind of allow content to build up so I have more to cover would be good. So let me know if you like this video. I'm very curious. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.